Season 3, Episode 11. It's the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm Ian Bosniak. We'll be joined momentarily by Matthew DeSantis. In today's episode, we'll discuss the returns of both Edwin Diaz and Francisco Alvarez and how that impacts the ball club moving forward, as both are slated to return over the next coming days. We'll also dive into the series that just occurred in London against the Philadelphia Phillies and the series prior, the sweep against the Washington Nationals. We'll dive into some minor league notes as well as touch upon the draft. And also, are we starting to believe the Mets have won 6 of their last 8? It all comes down to the series upcoming against the Miami Marlins. But before we dive into all that, be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Head over to cupofmets.com to get all your favorite merch, including this shirt, a Trade Everybody shirt. Hopefully we won't need to use that, but just in case, you know where to find it, cupofmets.com. And last but not least, be sure to download the SeatGeek app, punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to receive $20 off. And with that, episode 11, let's do it. Matthew, how are you on this lovely Monday evening?
Good, man. It was nice watching some baseball in London. Our boys somehow pulled out a win. They pulled out a win somehow. I didn't think that they were going to, but they somehow pulled one out. But, it's good for the game, the expansion of the game. So a lot of fans out there. From what I saw and read, apparently it was like 70-30 Philly fans to Mets fans.
It appeared that way.
So, but I'm also glad that we didn't fucking spend our money doing that shit.
I know. Yeah, we nearly did it. It was definitely something that was up in the air. And, and yes, you pointed out that the Mets took the series finale. There were only 2 games in London, but the win was even just so ugly. They had to come back in the 9th inning, and then they nearly squandered it again in the bottom half. Go figure. So just, good to get a win. I think I brought it up last week when we spoke, if I recall correctly, that I said that, I want the Mets to go ahead and win the series against the Nationals or sweep the Nationals and then, go to London and at least split the series, right? And be 8 games under. And that's where they are. I think that's definitely something that is worth noting. What's also worth noting is that for those who are watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my Trade Everybody t-shirt that's available at cupofmets.com. Again, if they make a run, maybe we're not going to trade everybody, but you always know that at least, for the entire duration of the franchise's history, that every, 4 to 5 years, it calls for a shirt like this. So, good to have one. But anyway, sure. Just a couple injury updates that want to point out before we hop into a couple topics. First and foremost, Jet Williams, who is dealing with that sore wrist, in the wrist injury, who he had been sidelined, the Mets' #1 prospect. He has underwent wrist surgery. It was successful, and they're saying that he will be out until August. I mean, listen, I'm glad that he got it out of the way, considering it was an issue that was occurring for him and it was plaguing his game. And it was also obviously keeping him out of playing, but it just sucks that at the rapid pace of his development that he comes down with an injury like this that affects literally his swing.
Absolutely. Like, it's definitely not ideal, especially with him, Drew Gilbert, like our top guys are hurt right now. And you can see it, and it's not ideal because you want to see development, especially after Jet's big year last year. Like, we thought he was gonna like break out big time. Now, if he doesn't even play at all this year, I'm sure he's gonna drop out a top 100 list just because for that reason.
I don't know if he's going to drop out entirely. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. They're weird like that. Think about the next time they update, it'll probably be after the MLB draft. So then you got like the top like 10 to 12 picks that end up getting into the top 100. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm sure he's gonna drop at least to the very least.
Right. I don't know. To me, the biggest blow, not only, what I said earlier on, but just the fact that last year he just got his feet wet in Binghamton, and this year was his first full slate with the Rumble Ponies and wasn't off to the greatest start, but again, he was dealing with the rest. And, we were hoping at the bare minimum, obviously he made it a goal last year that he wanted to be in the major leagues this season. However, I think that we can both agree at the bare minimum, we wanted to see him at least get to Syracuse, right? And it's not looking like that's going to occur. He'll probably wind up spending the entirety of the season in Binghamton, which means that, I mean, hopefully he produces, right? And that warrants him to begin next year in Syracuse. Hopefully the Mets are aggressive, and Stearns and co have shown that they are wanted to be, aggressive like that. But again, Williams will most likely start next year in Syracuse. So just kind of a blow on that front. Again, he is MLB Pipeline's number 33 prospect. Don't have Baseball America's list up right now, so don't know where he is there, neither with the prospectus, but there's that. In addition to that, Francisco Alvarez is expected to rejoin the club within the next day or two. So whether it be tomorrow, the opener of the 3-game slate against the Marlins, or the preceding day, he will rejoin the club. Remains to be seen who will head over to AAA, whether it be Tomas Nido or Luis Torrens, who has made quite an impact at the big league level. And we'll touch upon that in a little bit. Last but not least, Edwin Diaz, set to come back from the IL after the quote unquote shoulder impingement.
Yeah.
I don't
Phantom IL stint.
Phantom IL stint. It just seems like that, especially the bare minimum amount of days that you can be on the IL and he comes back. Whatever. But
Yeah.
Diaz, who has been with Brooklyn, made another rehab appearance on Sunday night, faced 3 batters, 1 scoreless inning, struck out a batter as well, reached up to 97 miles per hour. He is expected to return to the club not tomorrow, either Wednesday or Thursday, according to reports over the last several hours. How do you see that playing out? He says that he feels great, 100% ready to go. He feels like he's mentally prepared to come back and into a situation where he can do his job, and he's excited to help his team win. What do you think the keys are for his success, and how quickly would you personally, Matt, if you were Mendoza, how would you handle easing him back into the closer's role or some type of high leverage situation?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have that many high leverage guys, but I would, if I was Mendoza, I would put my confidence behind him and I would send him out there. Because that that's the only way he's gonna get his groove back, by going out there and pitching. So I think, I really hope that if we get into those situations where we need a save opportunity, I think that they should just let Diaz do his thing, or I mean, we got a couple other options, but you don't sideline your 20 million a year closer. So
Sure, sure. And I agree. Given the current state of the Mets bullpen, as well as what we're paying Diaz and the importance that he means to the ball club, you obviously want him throwing in the ninth inning, especially if we're going to make some sort of a run. For me, the keys to his success and him coming back is, quite frankly, I want to see him rely more on his fastball, but I want him to have confidence in his fastball. He began the season, and he's really, throughout his career, been a predominant fastball pitcher. Obviously, over the last few years, the slider has kicked up majorly. However, this season, he's throwing the slider at nearly a 59% clip, whereas the four-seamer he's throwing at a 42% clip. It's most likely, and I mean, we've all watched the games, he's been erratic with the fastball. His walk rate's up. He's walking batters. He's walked 20 batters in 20 innings. Which has attributed to his 5.40 ERA and has put runners on base. And there have been multiple situations, right, where there have been 2 outs, nobody on, and he walks somebody, and that leads to something else. So to me, I want to see him rely not only on his fastball, but have confidence in it, as I mentioned before. And then also, you just head over to his Baseball Savant page. Again, I mentioned the walk rate, but also hard hit percentage and barreling up the ball. Hitters are doing that against Diaz, which is something that we have not seen. Not sure if it's the over reliance on the slider, which maybe hangs over the plate a little bit more, but the ball's getting hit hard. And the only way to prevent other teams from coming back and winning those games and scoring is to prevent hard hit balls, whether it be out of the ballpark or in the gaps. And to me, I just think those are some of the more important things when you look at an Edwin Diaz bounce back situation.
yeah, I mean, absolutely. We need to see him get back to his usual form and throw his usual arsenal, and trust his pitches, and rely more on his defense and what he's got, his pitches are good. He's not a bad pitcher. He's still the same guy. He's just got to stick to his stuff.
Absolutely. And again, we don't, none of us are expecting a 2022 replication, especially after what happened to his leg last year. But come out here, as you said, rely on the defense. Don't try to blow everybody away. You're averaging 97 on your fastball. Okay. Work with what you have. Locate your slider. Hit your targets. Ride the fastball up and in, but also throw it for strikes. Get ahead of hitters, so on and so on. So I think that there's a bevy of things, but the only way that we'll know is how he comes back. To me, I would I would throw him right back into the closer's role, if I'm being honest with you. I know that may be a little bit controversial, and especially with the way that the Mets been playing, winning their last 6 of 8. But listen, again, we're paying him $20+ million. He is Edwin Diaz. You said it before. He is the same Edwin Diaz. And at the end of the day, you look at a 2021 where he wasn't as good, still at a 3.45 ERA, struck out 89 in 62 innings pitched. So again, you know that he can get the swing and misses. You know that he has nasty, nasty stuff. One of the best sliders in the game, one of the best fastballs in the game. It's just a matter of the confidence and his health. And hopefully he comes back. And I think that Mendoza is going to use him in high leverage situations right away just to test it off the bat. Before I brought up Francisco Alvarez, where do you stand right now? Especially after the way the game ended yesterday with Luis Torrens making a phenomenal play behind the dish, inducing a game-ending double play. Where are you at right now, Matt? Especially with the way that Tomas Nido has hit and has played.
Yeah.
Nido or Torrens, man.
I mean, Torrens has kind of given our I wouldn't say a lineup like a jolt, but he's been pretty solid back there for $100,000. But why do I feel like he's gonna be the man that gets sent down? Because I think Tomas Nido, he's got enough service time where he can elect free agency.
Yep.
So if they release DFA him, he can pretty much say, nah, fuck you, I'm not taking your Syracuse, and then he can go sign, I don't know, a minor league deal with a different team or something because he's never had that opportunity.
And the Mets will
But
still be on
I
the books
don't,
for him
yeah, they will.
since he signed that 2 year
But
extension. But I
exactly,
I do agree, though. I think that it will be Torrens that gets sent to the minor leagues based off of that factor and the fact that, again, Torrens does have options, and that's something that is massive when you're looking at him. But again, Nido thus far this year, this may not sound great. I mean, it's not great, but in 83 at bats, he's got a 622 OPS. And
yeah,
yes, that's not great, but in 2022, when he was the primary backup for James McCann and he played in nearly 100 games, he had a 600 OPS, right? So he's never going to hit the ball hard, but he's also framing the ball well. He's also playing good defense. He's gunning out runners. Again, we've seen Luis Torrens gun out runners at a
yeah.
wild pace since
I
being
think,
acquired.
dude, he's looked solid back there. Like I really have nothing bad to say, and especially, dude, I don't know if Thomas Nido makes that play at home plate
No,
in
I don't think
London.
he does.
I think he fucking panics and throws it to another base. I don't think he makes that play.
Or as the British broadcaster said, Tomas Nido, after he steps on home, may have thrown it several meters away from
Yeah.
Pete Alonso into right field to bring home the tying and game-winning run.
Yep, that definitely would have happened. And I still can't believe we got screwed, Michael K. He was awful yesterday.
Brutal. Brutal. He was fucking
Getting
up names.
Yeah, like why even come out there? Just he should have been on Yanks Dodgers last night at Yankee Stadium.
They should have took Wayne Randazzo from the Angels and from Apple TV and let him call it for damn sake. I know that he's not a name, but I'm just
Yeah,
literally
his
going to the
name.
bare minimum here. He was trash.
He was so bad, bro. I couldn't listen to him anymore. I couldn't.
They should have had Gary just go and then he could have called it for, again, obviously you don't have the deal with ESPN, but I don't know. I think that, I don't know, Kay was trash, but the British broadcaster was phenomenal. Oh man. And thankfully
It
we could
almost,
listen.
yeah, it
Thankfully
sounded
we
like a soccer game.
Oh, it was unreal. It was
Yeah,
unreal. And he made it so much fun, saying that the bat exploded. And then he used the reference that it shattered and it was an
yeah,
impeccable win. And, just he was phenomenal.
yeah.
But
I mean, I hope and it's good to see that MLB is doing these like abroad series. It's good for the game. It grows the sport.
absolutely. I agree. We'll see who the next teams that head over to London will be. But I found it also fascinating. Obviously, there were several former Mets on the trip. Mike Piazza, Daniel Murphy, David Wright, but Chase Utley was also there. There were a few Phillies, obviously, but
Yep.
Chase Utley lives in London, and I found that fascinating. He's lived
Yeah,
there.
that's
He's lived there for the last few years. I didn't know that.
yeah, that's cool. Do you know actually a lot of people
He's still an asshole, but
a lot of people from the United States actually have been moving to London.
wonder why.
But like I don't even think London is like much better. Like
No,
I
it's
think
not.
their crime is pretty bad.
Yeah, politically, they're not great. So I mean, it's not
Yeah.
great anyway.
But
But
well, yeah,
we don't.
we're not a
Yeah, we're
fucking
not.
politics podcast.
Yeah, yeah, not yet. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, you said it before. Torrens has been great, and he's really provided a jolt. Yeah, it's only been a short period of time. 16 ABs. He's posted a 1,139 OPS to the tune of a 313 average. Obviously, had the 2 home run game against Washington on the 5th, which we did live stream on YouTube. That was quite
Yeah.
fun, Rob and I. However,
I
again,
hung out in there for a bit with
yeah, you,
you and Yuki.
yeah, and Yuki, yep, shout out Yuki. But Torrens has been amazing. Dude, he's slugging 750. I know that it's only 16 at bats.
I know, dude, and
If you
we're
count
playing well in these games.
if you count the walks, has he gotten hit by any pitches? No. But
Ron said it perfectly the other day. He was like coming into a new ball club as a catcher and having to learn an entire rotation. He was just like not easy. Not easy. I
no.
was just like, I'm sure it's not.
And also he's been slinging runners out.
Yeah, he looks sharp. So I don't know. I really don't know. I
He's
mean,
only
can you
28.
even get anything for Thomas Nito? Can you wiggle Thomas Nito in front of the team?
You probably could.
I don't know.
You probably could. He's making barely anything. Catchers are needed, and he's not as bad as he was last year. He couldn't get any worse than he was last season. However, I'm not saying that teams are going to jump at him, but I think that it all will come down to the fact that if the Mets do decide to go with Torrens opposed to Nito, that Nito will most likely elect free agency. The other thing too that you have to factor in is that a guy like Nito is best friends with Francisco Lindor, and I know that that shouldn't make the biggest impact in the world, but Nito is known to be a really really great clubhouse guy. You see all those videos that the Mets social media team puts out in spring training where they're like, which teammate are you most excited to see? Everyone said Nito. I don't know if it's a joke or something like that, but there's good camaraderie. He just has to perform, and he has been as of late. The bat has cooled down since he's come back up from the minors. However, again, I think it's Nito's job to lose at this point. But there's
Yeah,
only one more game, so
yeah.
before
So
Alvarez comes back, you know,
we'll see.
Jeff McNeil returned to the lineup for the first time yesterday in 4 games. Sat on the bench all four. Jose Iglesias was called up. We mentioned that last episode. Iglesias has been great thus far. 409 average, 935 OPS, and 22 at bats. If you want to count the walks as well, he's walked 1 time, so he's got 23 official plate appearances. What are your McNeil went 2 for 4 yesterday, so nice to see that he bounced back, was able to get a couple hits off Taiwan. What's your assessment of this situation right now? The Mets are going to be facing a couple lefties coming up against the Marlins in Jesus Luzardo and Braxton Garrett. So Jose Iglesias may see more of the playing time. Where are you at right now with the situation?
I think you got to ride the hot hand. You got to go Jose Iglesias. And I saw something the other day, and they were like, "You keep riding him, and then you're selling at the deadline. Someone might want him. He's been good." But I
Huh.
would play him. I would play him right now. He's looked good, and he's the reason why a guy like Luke Ritter hasn't been called up because they think that this guy is actually like playing to a high level where they can win ball games with him in the lineup.
He's also been there and he's been on winning clubs.
Yep.
He's a seasoned veteran, being 34 years old, debuting in 2011. So to me, yeah, that's exactly why a guy like Luke Ritter or Riley Bannon haven't been called up, is because there's no where to necessarily put him, especially considering the Mets said that they wanted another middle infielder when they said that the fact that Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos being on the roster was not sustainable, right? So you need another middle infielder, and Iglesias has been everything and more. I think that we have mentioned this enough on the podcast. If everyone's been listening over the last several episodes about what we believe Jeff McNeil has to do, right? He has to get back to his slap happy approach, gap to gap, not pull the ball, lay off the inside pitches because pitchers are pitching him, whether it be in on the hands or down at his feet. They're pitching in on him. He has to lay
Mhm.
off of that. He has to stop lofting the ball like he's fucking golfing, right? And he has to
Yeah.
stop rolling over on the ball at first and second base. But I agree with you. Iglesias needs to be in the lineup. It was nice to see McNeil bounce back, have 2 hits yesterday, but it should be a platoon from here on out. And hell, if
Yeah.
Jeff McNeil struggles against right-handed pitching, there's an argument to be made, especially if Iglesias continues performing like he is, that he can steal the starting second baseman job away, especially if the Mets are competitive.
Yeah, for sure. And it's such a surprise that they're only 3 games out of a wild card because no teams are freaking winning.
I know.
So
Well, it's very dispersed. The winning's very dispersed. Everyone's kind of collecting wins here and there. And I don't know. The record of 28 and 36 looks much better than it did a week ago. I know that the Mets were 10, 11 games below 500 at that point, but that record, 28-36, not brutal. Not brutal. So hopefully the Mets can
yeah,
continue to, move in this direction, especially with the fact that we're facing the Marlins, who we should not take lightly whatsoever. They did damage against us earlier this season. But before we move on, Sean Manaea struggled. We'll give him a bye, I suppose, right? Philly's very good offense. Manaea really struggled against Philadelphia in London, 3 2/3, allowed 7 hits, 6 earned runs, struck out only 3 and walked 1, which is nice. Over his last 3 starts, he's only walked 4 batters, which is incredible considering the fact
mm,
that he's been walking between 3 and 5 batters a game. But he's still not going deep in ball games. His ERA is up to 4.30, but I think at this point, that game we just have to kind of push away. He'll have another start against San Diego, I believe. Yeah, he won't pitch against Miami, so he'll be facing San Diego. Manaea will give a pass to. Jose Quintana, on the other hand, I believe should be designated for assignment.
I agree. I mean, I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for.
Cut your losses. Cut your losses. A 143
I,
whip.
I think at this point they're like I think they're praying that they can like he can somehow have like 3 bounce back starts in a row and they can dish him for like 50K like international money or something like that. Like get something out of him.
Dude, I mean, he's abysmal. He
No,
is
yeah.
he's
He
abysmal.
he's a guaranteed loss every time pretty much he starts.
Right.
Like
I
and
mean,
it's bad.
thankfully the Mets were able to win that game, but his last
They
7 games,
won, yep.
his last 7 games, he's pitched to a 7.16 ERA. And even though over his last 3 starts against Philly, Arizona, and LA respectively, he's only allowed 3 earned runs, per, he's only gone above the fourth inning once. And that was against the Dodgers, surprisingly enough, where he took the L. But again, it was a decent start. But put that aside, Quintana has been trash. And it's not like he has stuff where you're like, oh, he's got great swing and miss stuff. He'll turn the corner. His repertoire is this, his repertoire is that. He is
No.
not a good pitcher. And if every pitch is not working to perfection, he's got absolutely nothing. 5.29 ERA, he's got a 5.25 FIP. So it's not like, the ERA is hiding
Yeah.
some underlying numbers. The FIP says it all. He
I
has
know.
sucked this season. Walk rate has been pretty high. Strikeout percentage low as normal. He's only struck out 44 batters and 66 and a third. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for. I know he's making $13 million right now. What? He probably is owed another $8 million or so, right? Cut your
Yeah.
fucking losses. You just released Narvaez. Quintana, I feel like, is the last contingent of that group that needs to be
Yeah.
fished.
Nah, you might as well and just let Budo take those starts. Like there why is he taking innings? Or like Dom Hamill. Like, dude, these guys are like at AAA burning themselves out. Uh, him and
Absolutely.
Vass him and Mike Vasile, bro, they're both burning themselves out at AAA. Like it's time to just be like, dude, Quintana, there's no future here for Jose Quintana. Like, get rid of him.
Zero. Zero. And a guy like Jose Budo, who only has one more minor league option left, he's started 7 games this year and has pitched to a 3.08 ERA. And he's gone
Yeah,
above 6 innings several times. Like, call him up. He's got better stuff overall than a Jose Quintana does.
I
Just
know. I think at this point they're really waiting to see what their record is in like 25 days from now.
So then what are they going to do? Ride out the rest of the season, allow Quintana to make his 32 starts or whatnot if the Mets are out of it? Because nobody's going to take him. And I doubt that the Mets are going to go ahead and call everybody up at once. If
Honestly,
Sevy and Manaya are gone, for say, then you expect Vasile and Budo obviously, and then a Hamill or I mean Scott still has to come back up. But you know what I mean? I don't.
knowing our luck, it would be like we would DFA him, Dodgers would pick him up, and he would be lights out.
I need win a ring.
Yep.
I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't. I wouldn't give a shit. I really wouldn't give a shit. I wouldn't care as much as I would or have in the past other players that's occurred with.
Yeah.
Quintana has just last year he was decent, but came back when the Mets were kind of out of it, and he's just been really not good. And I think that he
We
should be
don't
the
have
next.
to. Yeah, we don't have to keep wasting breath on Jose Quintana. He's
Yeah, yeah. Bottom line, he just should be the next roster casualty. Anyway, Matt said it before. They've won 6 of their last 8. And then you mentioned the
Mhm.
Mets are only 3 games out of the wild card. I believe the Reds excuse me, the Reds, Cubs, Giants, and the Cardinals are all tied for the third wild card spot at
Mhm.
32 and 34. And then the Cardinals are 31 and 33. And then the second wild card spot being the Padres, they are 1 game under 500. So, yes, the Mets are only 3 games out.
Yeah.
After their little run right now, do you believe they can turn it around and make this run that Stearns and Cohen have said that they believe can happen?
I don't know, dude. I mean, I think they absolutely have to sweep Miami. That's a non-negotiable. Dude, they have to win like almost every series, I feel like, until the deadline to actually, or until like mid July to actually buy.
Sure. And we know what they would be buying. You see Alvarez coming back. That position is more offensively sound. Maybe the Mets look for another middle infielder, insurance if McNeil continues to struggle. the outfield's basically set. They would absolutely go after a starting pitcher or
Yeah.
and as well as the bullpen. But I agree. And you look at their upcoming schedule, and we're gonna look at, and I'll give you the probables at the end of the segment. But they're, again, you said it before, they're facing Miami for three against San Diego. Again, they're a game under, three against the reigning world
Yeah,
champions in
they
the
play
Rangers.
us. They always San Diego always plays us tough. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. They eliminated us. I was there.
yeah,
They're, then they faced the Rangers, who were three games under, but they're still the Rangers. Then they faced the Cubs. Then they faced the Yankees. Then they've played the Astros. Their schedule does not get easier until
there's no.
July and August for the most part. You
Yeah,
know,
like they have a. There's a real possibility for June swoon.
yeah, that's why I think it's of the utmost importance that, as you said, they do sweep Miami.
Yeah,
And
they have to.
they have to sweep Miami, and then they have to win two of three at least from San Diego. And I hope we can have a repeat and a little bit of a deja vu next week when we record, and we can look back at the schedule and say that what I wanted to happen occurred. But at that
For
point, what
sure. I mean,
the Mets would
yeah,
be three games under 500, four games under 500.
yeah,
Like just like that. Sweep Miami, take two of three from San Diego, and potentially, they're
if
they're
they if yeah if they lose if Miami takes 2 out of 3 from them and they get like swept by San Diego, I'm fucking done, bro.
yeah.
Sell.
Then
Like,
these are all over the place. They trade everybody t-shirts. They're all over the place.
yeah, yep,
I think when you're looking at, forget the upcoming schedule, when you're looking at the team overall, we know what it is. We've come on here before and bitched and moaned about the offense and how inconsistent they are and this guy and that guy not hitting. We know who the culprits are. At the end of the day, however, it's all going to come down to the starting pitching.
yeah,
Reports came out late last week saying that the Mets believe that Kodai Senga could make his season debut after the All-Star break. Again, that's kind of not too specific. They didn't really give a time frame. So again, Kodai could be coming back, but you can't over rely on him. But you need David Peterson to pitch like he has, Tyler McGill to pitch like he has. You need Manaea, Severino. It's going to be it's going to be a whole team effort. And then from the bullpen,
yeah.
you're going to need a bounce back from Ottavino. You're going to need Daniel Nunez to continue to do what he's done, which has been terrific. We're going to need him to pitch some high leverage innings. Drew Smith, we're going to need to be good. And obviously, the big key is Edwin Diaz being back in that ninth inning role and closing out games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is a big stretch right here. It's gonna, and like, one of the things I love about Steve is he's not like other owners. Other owners fucking hide under their desks when it's time to answer questions. He goes out there and answers them right to their face. So like, yeah, I think this, I think that. Like, do I think he has a shit ton of optimism right now? Yeah, a little too much. Yeah, like, dude, your roster is not a playoff team. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
And he definitely knows that. He makes billions of dollars trading stocks. He definitely knows
absolutely.
that.
Listen. If you want to say that the first 5, 6 in the Mets order is good, sure. Does it fall off after that? Yeah. But you can't. I mean, listen, the lineup looks pretty decent right now, especially with Vientos over at third and with
But
Alvarez coming back. But
it
it's the
does, but
pitching.
they don't.
It's the
Yeah,
pitching. The
it's
pitching's trash.
it's that, and these guys aren't playing to their potential, bro.
Sure.
And I'm so
Sure.
sick of Alonso getting up to a bat and swinging at that same fucking slider that he's been swinging at for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Slider out and away.
2 feet out of the strike zone.
Yep.
Yep. It's typical. I got nothing to say. The only thing that I could say is that thank God, and I know that Starling Marte has made some hiccups over the last several days, and London made that big error that kind of broke the game open, game one against the Phillies. But a guy like Starling Marte, really quietly, has had a good season. And the key has been
Yeah.
health, but he's in comparison to other players. Look at his average compared to other ones. And I'm not talking about the Vientos or a Luis Torrens, right? Who hasn't accumulated as many ABs. Marte's got a 280 average and 214 at bats, 750 OPS.
I wish we were able to just stick him at DH, bro. He's a liability in right field.
Well, listen, if some players play to their potential and if he shows by the end of the season that he can hit like this, then there is, if especially if the Mets consider Vientos as their starting third baseman next year, there is an opportunity for Marte to be the starting DH because then they can spread some players out in the outfield, whether it be free agent signings or players coming up. And then JD Martinez won't be on the books. You could always have Marte be the DH, bring in a Vogelbach, platoon him.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely, right?
Definitely
Um,
bringing Logo back.
yeah. I mean, and again, the last thing that I think, that I want to touch upon is, again, the Mets have a 3-game set against Miami. Tyler McGill against Jesus Luzardo in game 1 tomorrow night. Wednesday, it'll be David Peterson against Braxton Garrett. So, as mentioned before, Jose Iglesias should get 2 starts. And then it will be Luis Severino against Roderi Nunez, who I have not seen pitch before. And to be completely honest, I'm a baseball junkie. I didn't even know who that was up until looking at.
Maybe a younger prospect.
He is. I think he's 21 years old. I don't think we've stressed it enough. It's a crucial series. They need to sweep the Marlins. Two of three would be nice as well. You would gain a game towards 500, but again, you have to beat up on these teams, especially with the upcoming schedule.
Exactly. Unfortunately, when you look at us in the standings, we are one of the bad teams. But when you look at the Marlins, they're the worst team, one of the worst teams in baseball. So you have to take all 3 from them, especially if you want to try and make a leap like during this time, because if they don't, bro, they're gonna be selling.
And selling quick.
Yeah.
You've seen a guy like Alonso. Sure, he's still swinging at sliders 3 feet out of the strike zone, and he's still not playing to his potential, but he's hitting the ball better. He's making more solid contact. So hopefully his trade stock rises a little bit. You have a Harrison Bader, you have a JD Martinez, but again, right now being 8 games under, only 3 games out of the wild card, opposed to other episodes, I think we need to be more encouraged from
Yeah.
what we've seen. It just really all comes down to, can these guys continue the steady trajectory up, offensively speaking, and can the pitching hold down the fort until they decide if they're buyers or sellers?
I I think a playoff team would be wise for Harrison Bader. He offers a
Sure,
lot in
sure.
terms of like coming off the bench, speed, run swiping bags, his defense in center. Like he might be a hot commodity.
Listen, he's a little erratic at the dish, takes some
Yeah.
crazy hacks, but he can hit the ball,
Yeah, he knock on wood, he's been healthy for us, which is good.
and that's got to continue. That's got to
Yeah,
continue.
for sure.
Okay. Well, again, as mentioned, they'll have the 3 game set with the Marlins beginning tomorrow night, and then the Padres come into town to face the Mets. And these next 2 series, as we've said before, will tell a lot about how the next 2 months are going to unfold and how the rest of the season's going to unfold. Truly, can't say it
Yeah.
enough. Even being just 3 games out of the wild card, but I mean, also I can't, because if other teams keep losing, then who knows? I don't know. This has been a weird
Yeah.
ass season.
An all-star break week is when? The week of the 4th?
No, it is. I just had it up. It is All-Star game is the week of the 15th. So it's the 15th
Gotcha.
through the 18th. And then the Mets go to Miami on the 19th. So
And then the draft is through that time.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. And I was gonna say we'll have a whole nother segment and we'll talk about it, touch upon it, episodes leading up to that draft. But a couple mock drafts have come out recently. Have had the Mets selecting Vance Honeycutt from North Carolina. He had a massive home run the other night.
He's
That would be
good.
he's
I'd
very,
like
very
I'd like that.
yeah, he's very, very good. big thing with him, and something that teams are shying away from him because of is his swing and miss type of game. However, that's kind of how the Mets play ball. Obviously, we want to see guys make more contact, but if he's going to go ahead and strike out 115 to 130 times, but hit 25 to 35 home runs, driving 100 runs, and hit 250 while playing a good outfield. I mean,
Yeah.
according to Baseball Prospect Journal, he hits for above average raw power and plays exceptional defense in center, is extremely athletic and makes an impact on the bases too. The biggest question, as I said, remains his contact rate. So we'll see. I think it's pretty cut and clear from what we've heard and what we've seen that the Mets are going to focus in on a college bat. Remains to be seen who. I think another one had the Mets selecting Carson Beng, right? Or Benj from the
Yeah.
outfielder from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
He's a two-way player. Um, Again, Baseball Prospect Journal, intriguing ability to make contact and drive the ball into the gaps, has really good hit tool with improving power on the mound. He has a mid-90s fastball. And then on Baseball Prospect Journal, their mock draft. Again, I love this site, and I think that it is very credible. They have the Mets
Yeah.
selecting another outfielder, Slade Caldwell, who's a high school bat from Arkansas, Valley View, left-handed, 5'9", 185 pound.
I can't wait. I'm curious to see uh, if Charlie Condon goes number one. That kid is going to be a star
I don't think he is. I think it's gonna be Travis
from
Bazzana.
Oregon State.
Yeah, he was actually born in Australia.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah, born in
And then
Sydney.
that kid from Florida, Jack Caglione.
Yep. Yep.
Good.
And
He plays out. I think he plays first outfield and he pitches.
yeah, and then he's a lefty as well. And then you have two Wake Forest. And now I'm just looking at MLB Pipeline.
Yeah.
Those players that I mentioned before. Vance Honeycutt is the 20th overall prospect, so kind of falls in line with where the Mets are drafting at 19. Carson Bangs, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't really care enough to check, but
Yeah.
Carson is number 19, and then Slade Caldwell is number 22. So they're all right in that ballpark. But after Caglione, you have two Wake Forest, Nick Kurtz, first baseman, as well as Chase Burns, who's a right-handed pitcher. A lot of the top players, I mean, one on MLB Pipeline, 1 through 8 are college players. So that's fun to see because there's a quicker ascendance to the major leagues. Then you have a couple prep players, but then you go back to, East Carolina, Wake Forest, Florida State, LSU, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
and the Mets have been doing good. Their 2023 draft looks good, and they're definitely higher than average with the college bats.
It's funny that the bright spots of the 2023 draft class has not been their number one overall pick.
Yeah, man.
Even
You
though
know,
he's playing better as of recent,
yeah,
it's
he is. He's playing better as of recent, but that, oh,
it's been the Cade Morris, Brandon Sprout, you know,
AJ Ewing,
AJ,
Boston Barrow show, dude. You would think
yeah,
AJ Ewing was drafted 30. When did we take? I think it was 32nd overall. We took Huck.
yep, 32nd.
So literally, AJ Ewing and Boston Barrow are playing better than Huck, and they're like eighth and 10th round picks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Nolan McLean as well. I was looking on my phone. I'm like, who the hell am I missing? Nolan McLean has been tremendous. You can kind of go on. The Mets did a good job last year, and I think they're going to follow the trend as well, take the top player available and
Yeah.
take more major league ready players because they want the farm system to, be in this perpetual state of competitiveness and, churning out top tier talent. So we'll go from that. With that, episode 11 in the books. Maddie, got anything for us?
Nothing much that we already said, man. Hopefully we can go in and sweep the fish, get some wins, and at least take 2 out of 3 from San Diego, and I don't know. And then maybe after that we got something going, but I don't know. This time next week, if we didn't at least take 2 out of 3 from the Fish and take 2 out of 3 from San Diego, we're not looking too good, man.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. Keys,
Yep.
I want to talk to you again next episode. The Mets have swept the Marlins, or at least won the series, and it swept the Padres, or at least won 2 of 3. 4-2, not, the quick ascendance up, but at that point the Mets would only be 6 games under. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Want to see some good pitching, bullpen as well as the rotation. Want to see Lindor continue hitting Alonso and so on. But yeah, I can only say it so much. Again, if they do end up falling to the Marlins, Padres, and kind of fall out of contention, you know that this shirt right here will come in handy. Trade everybody. Get this and all the other items that we have in stock: shirts, sweatshirts,
Yes, sir.
hats. I'm trying to think of what else. Mugs.
Mugs, everything.
Yeah, I think that caps out. But yeah, visit us at cupofmets.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. And last but not least, be sure to download the SeatGeek app, punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to receive $20 off. And for Matthew DeSantis, I'm Ian Bosniak. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next episode. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.